Welcome to the Invention Show. I'm your host, Brian Freed, and today we have guest inventor Samantha Jane St. Raymond. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. How are you? This is so awesome.
So, Samantha, you're a very interesting person and inventor. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've only been inventing for maybe 5 years, and it's been such an amazing experience because I didn't have a background of creative or inventing or products, so it kind of came out of nowhere. Maybe just a gift from the universe. So it kind of started a few years ago, and I was calling a buddy of mine like every morning. I go, hey, I had this idea last night, or I had this dream, or, I'm going to bed and I'm waking up with ideas. So it was really kind of strange. I never had those experiences before, but it definitely opened up a portal and a path to kind of go, well, maybe I have a couple of really cool ideas here. I just didn't know where they were coming from. So, yeah, I mean, and when I've talked to other inventors, they've kind of said some of the similarities as well. Like it just comes out of nowhere, where they wake up or they go to sleep. So I knew I wasn't that crazy. It was coming from somewhere. So really quickly, like in 2015, I was living in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'd been there for 20 years. And I just wanted to get out of the city. So I came down to Florida and spent a lot of time on the beach. And that's when I came up with my first invention, was just kicking it on the beach. So
very nice. So really, before you started inventing, who were you? What did you do? What did you do for a living?
Well, I've been a server, bartender for many years. I had a son, and I wasn't married to his dad. So it was a great industry for a single mom to be in, actually. The hours were right, the money was good. And of course, that, you don't know it then, but that also equals to multitasking, psychology, counseling, being able to memory, public speaking. So it all kind of evolved into that because I made a career out of the hospitality business. But I did branch off a couple of times because I'm creative. I launched a magazine with a girlfriend of mine in St. Louis. It ran for 3.5 years. And, it was a color glossy magazine all about the live local music scene. That was really, really cool. It was like being on the cover of the Rolling Stones. I mean, people loved it. Right. Awesome. And then what branched off from that was my philanthropic drive to care for other people in our community. And I launched a nonprofit called Play It Forward, STL. And basically what we do is we provide musical instruments to underfunded music programs, kids that otherwise maybe wouldn't be able to afford to play music. And I got to thinking about it. There's so much, recycled instruments, and people were holding on to them and they didn't know what to do with them. So we kind of became that recycled program. Like, well, you give us your trumpet and then we will give it back to, a child that needs it, and it just kind of sprang from there. So again, inventing has come much later in this life for me, but this is probably some of the best time I'm having. I love it so much.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So tell me about when you came up with this idea. What'd you do? What'd you think of? What'd you do next? And maybe you could show us what you have.
Well, again, I was spending some time on the beach at the Gulf of Mexico. It's beautiful here. And, I'm an adult, so I enjoy adult beverage from time to time. And I didn't have one of those chairs with the cup holder. I don't know if that's for the elite or something, because my chair is just down to the ground. So, of course, my beverage was getting the clump of sand at the bottom. And okay, these aren't, world suffering problems, but it's a little annoying when you have a nice cold beer and it's got sand all over it. So I was looking around and I'm like, well, how come there's not a table design specifically for the beach? And I've been going to the beach for years. Like in the 80s, you would bring your boombox and your towel and that's it, right? Now they're tailgating out there. I mean, people are bringing everything to the beach, but there wasn't a small table. So I went home and did a ton of research. And of course, I found thousands of tables on the market, as anybody would. but we came up with, if you can see it here in the camera. Yeah.
Yep.
It's called Yellow Dog Beach and Travel Table. It weighs 2 pounds. It comes in this little handy tote bag, and it's easy to assemble. I'm going to pull it out and put it together for you real quick. It's an American-made product, which we're really proud of, and that's really hard to do as well. We can probably talk about that later. Anyway, so here you have it. It's a small portable table. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. Family-friendly logo on the front. And most importantly, what we did to make it really unique and different, we left the legs hollow specifically for when you're on the beach and it's windy and everybody that knows that the umbrellas start flying, the towels, everything. So you can fill these tube legs with sand. You just kind of reach into the sand that's already available, pour it into the tube, and it adds 4 feet of weighted stability to a 2-pound lightweight table. So basically, grandma can carry it down to the beach, or your toddler can carry it, and you can pack it with sand and it weights it down. And then I discovered you can also put your umbrella tube in this section.
Oh.
So, and then you pack sand around that, and you pop up your umbrella. So now you have a table umbrella all in one. So,
wow.
It's Yellow Dog Table.
That's awesome. So it doesn't have to be that drink that you have. You could put anything on top of the table. So you came up with a portable table that you can fill with sand so it doesn't fly away, and you can use it for multi-purposes. Very nice.
Yeah, well, since I live in a beach community, so beach sand just made sense to me. And when I was kind of pitching it here at a couple of different places, people around here are like, oh, it's genius, the sand in the legs. And I'm like, honey, I'm from St. Louis. We bag sand to save our city, right? And people out here, they just take it for granted of how natural weighted the sand is, right? So to me, I just kind of, and that helped with the patent and the filings and such, because we've used different sources to weight down a table. And let me tell you, I mean, I didn't realize how smart it was either when I first did it.
Well, Samantha, tell us. So you came up with this idea. You're at the beach. You're like, you know what? I'm tired of my cup getting full with sand on the bottom. It's just disgusting. I have other things that I probably want to put on something.
Yeah.
So you came up with this idea. What'd you do first?
Oh, man. Well, research.
What does that mean? What type of research?
Google is your friend, first of all, start there. And again, I knew there was going to be an abundance of tables because it's furniture. But I knew we had something a little different by leaving the legs detachable from under the unit. Because if you think about it, nobody's going to walk down to the beach with a table with legs hanging down, right? I mean, it's just not practical. So quickly I discovered there's, of course, a ton of like card tables, kid tables, but I wasn't finding anything specifically for the beach. And that was my focus at the time. Now, as it evolved and people have purchased it, they tell me, oh, Sam, I just leave it in the back of the car, goes to a soccer game with me, goes next to the bathtub, which is another great spot for it. Again, soccer games, and the kids love it because they can take the sand and put it in the tubes. And when you lift it, the sand comes out. It doesn't take much to entertain a child. So
well, it took some time to design that function of putting the sand into the legs. So you came up with this idea. You started to do some research. What'd you do after that?
I went to Lowe's and started buying PVC pipe and pieces of wood. And this is a true story. I had just moved here, so I didn't have the network that I had in St. Louis. So this is a great message to inventors. Find a way, and find a will, there's a way, right? So I used to drive by this dude's house, and I always see him outside with a jigsaw, or he was cutting wood or something. So I had this piece of wood, and, I'm all girls. So I have a screwdriver and a hammer here in my house. So I needed to get this piece of wood cut. I literally knocked on his door and took a step back so I didn't appear to be threatening, right? This guy answers the door. He's like, hello. And I go, hi, you don't know me, but I drive by here all the time. And will you cut this piece of wood for me, please? And he's like, okay, crazy lady, sure, I'll cut it for you. And he did. And then I went and got some Gorilla Glue, right? And I cut the PVC pipe that I could do. And I made them, like 12-inch size legs, and put some Gorilla Glue into the 4 things and let it dry. And then I ran out to the beach with it. And I sat it in the sand, and I took a cupful of sand and I poured it in the legs, and I went, oh, it works. This is all true story, man. I still have the first prototype in the garage. So Lowe's is your friend, Google is your friend, and neighbors that are willing to help out.
Very nice. Well, that's a really easy way to make a prototype, is to just take things apart and just kind of figure it out without having to spend money on engineers and 3D prototyping and everything else just yet. So you took parts that already exist. That's great. So
yeah, again, it wasn't rocket science because it's just a table. But I think it was the application of the sand and then leaving the legs detachable. Oh, and note to self, if you use Gorilla Glue, nothing is detachable after that. So I did have to go make a second one.
Don't get it on your fingers. Right.
Right. Exactly.
All right. So you came up with this prototype, and you were getting excited. You felt like it was working. The sand was in there. You felt it was stable. So tell me what you did after that.
Well, and I thought that was kind of like some really difficult stuff to kind of all put together. But looking back, that was really the easiest of the beginning. Because it does get challenging. It's not for the lighthearted. So afterwards, I went and sat with a patent attorney, and I became very coachable. And I started to really ask a lot of questions because, I wasn't stubborn enough to know that I've never done this before. So I went to the Small Business Development Center. Just to kind of grab any meetings that I could from people. But my next step was going to an attorney to see if it was patentable. Now, when I say that was my next step, that wouldn't be my next step now, right? But it just was then, because I was really learning a lot, and I was doing different steps that I was doing backwards as well, if that makes sense.
It does.
Right. So if I could do it again, I would definitely do it differently. But on this particular product, I was really kind of learning the hard way, honestly. And then I think, kind of fast forwarding, where am I going to get the money to make this injection mold? Because at the time, I'm like, I'm going to manufacture this product. We're going to do it all. And I had never had experience in manufacturing or distribution. So it was a big leap of learning. I have a fun story of how I ordered the injection mold. I finally got the money from an investor. He saw me at a pitch competition. I highly recommend those if you're looking for angel investors or partnerships, right? I didn't win the competition. But he approached me afterwards and said, hey, I think you've got a really niche product here. I've lived here all my life, and I think this thing is going to sell like flip-flops around here. So I was very encouraged by that. And so he gave me $25,000 to get startup. And then my dad put in $25,000. So we had 50 grand to work with. Great. Yeah. But that's a lot of money. It was a lot of money.
Well, so, you're really, that's something that I think just getting out there and showing your product and feeling comfortable and confident to be able to do that. I think if you didn't do that, you wouldn't have that opportunity of 25,000 or going to that pitch competition. So what really, like, how did you find it? And also, just to step back a little bit, because some inventors out there aren't sure exactly how to find even a patent attorney. So what did you do when you had the idea, you wanted to protect it, you wanted to start getting your product going? What did you do, and how did you find those resources?
Well, I was connected to a veterans program here that just had unlimited amounts of resources. And I found because I was in a smaller community, a beach community, it was a lot quicker and faster to get meetings that I hadn't experienced before in St. Louis, if that makes any sense. So I just started. Well, the attorney was recommended to me, and he was so much fun. He taught me so much just in our couple of hours of conversation, because what I thought I knew, I really did not know. Fair enough. I mean, and I'm open enough to tell you that, I had to learn the hard way. But now I was Googling pitch competitions. I'd heard it in some meetings that I went to, pitch competition. I'm like, what is it? I've never heard of that before. What's a pitch? I didn't even know what an elevator pitch was, right? So a lot of really grassroots kind of learning. But, I submitted to the competition, and so did like 50 other companies. So to be honest with you, I was really quite shocked.
That's great. Well, you definitely have the personality to do it. A lot of people just, they have the idea, they want to kind of keep it to themselves and not sure who they should talk to about it. So you just kept moving forward, and that's where you got to the level of success where you got the 25,000 and you had your father that was able to help you. That's great. So you had the cash, you ended up protecting the idea. You filed a provisional patent application or a utility patent?
I did the provisional first, and then we came up with the logo and the name. But the name had to change a couple of times because of that patent attorney. I had called it and had logos already done. I called it Beachside Table and Seaside Table. I was very happy with those decisions, right? So I marched into my patent attorney's office, and he's like, I really want you to reconsider this name. And I'm like, oh, I've done all this work. I can't think of anything else. And he explained to me that you really wanted to differentiate your product. So since I'm in a beach community, there's seaside condominiums, there's seaside hotel, there's seaside cafe. So here I am trying to launch this little table and call it Seaside Table. And he goes, and he had to teach me, do you want to brand this, or do you want to just sell? It's obvious it's a table. And so that was really a great conversation to become like, it's obvious what it is. It's like when you go to Sears, you know what Sears is, right? So it's a store now. So, and he goes, and you're going to have to train the public what your name is going to be. So I was frustrated and took the advice and went home, and a couple of days later came up with the name Yellow Dog. And then all of a sudden it just fit. Yellow Dog, it sits, it stays, no training required. And it kind of fit in the description of the table, right? It sits, full it with sand, it stays, no training required. Dogs aren't allowed on the beach, but Yellow Dog can be. So we kind of had fun with the marketing. And apologize, I know I'm all over the place, but this is an exciting topic for me because I remember all this. And there's something that you just mentioned a moment ago about, and I've met inventors that want to hold on to their idea. And they're afraid to show it. They're afraid somebody's going to steal it, take it, blah, blah, blah. And I get that, but you got to let go of some of the fear, right? You've got to trust that there are good people out there, and not everybody is out to take your product. And you got to take that risk, and you have to be ready too for a lot of rejection. I mean, I didn't know I was going to get this much rejection in this industry. So, but that's okay too, because there's a lot of no's, and the no's come really fast, and the yeses take a little bit longer, right?
Yep. So Samantha, tell me where your product is right now. Is it available for sale? Just tell us quickly about your experience of getting your product out there. Once you have it, you manufactured it. Tell us about where you are right now.
Well, it's bloody difficult to manufacture and distribute your own product. Okay. I mean, it's kind of me and my dad, and we're a team of two. He's top dog at Yellow Dog. I mean, that guy can sell a table to a table maker. So we went to a couple of like little local beach stores, and it was really great to get that retail space. but it was all on consignment, right? So they didn't have any skin in the game, and I had a lot of skin in the game. But we accepted the process. We sell online, so yellowdogtable.com. Oh, and then one thing we decided to do to open up, I love marketing, I love branding. So we decided to let other companies put their image or logo on the top of the table surface. So then we started to do like one-offs and personalized. And then we went after some licensing. I cold called the Navy one day, cold called them. And some guy answered, and he's got me on the other end. Rah, 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 rah. You know, and I'm just trying to get it all, right? And he says, you know, he goes, I've never even seen a beach table, and I live in St. Padre Island in Texas. And I said, well, let me send you one. And I did. And then when he received it, he called me, goes, we'll license this table. We'll put our brand on this table. So again, that was like a cold call to the United States Navy Blue Angels.
That's great. Congrats.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it took me 2 years to get Major League Baseball to even respond to me. 2 years. And then we finally got one trademark with Major League Baseball on the surface of the tables.
So you had to go to Major League Baseball, and you had to license the rights to use their name and their teams on your product. And every time one of yours sold, you paid them a royalty. Yes.
And when one of those didn't sell, you still pay the annual royalties.
Right.
And such. Yeah.
Very
you know,
good.
and I talk about all this, but it was not an easy road. I mean, it was fun. It's exciting, and you learn a lot along the way. And it was tough having an American-made product too. You know, if you want to talk about that for a minute, there's some challenges there. And I know that we're kind of in a time where people are really considering and thinking about that. And I'm not discouraging anyone from doing it. I think it's amazing. And I know a lot more about it now than I did then. So.
Well, what made you choose USA over overseas?
Well, again, since I'm an independent inventor, so we don't have a large factory company, and everything was so new to me. So initially, I was just scared of it. I didn't understand it, the shipping, the taxes, none of it. But moreover, my father is a retired military guy of 25 years, and we live in a very heavily military community, and we wanted to support American-made products and American-made manufacturing, right? But, you know, the truth is sometimes the public, right, they rah, America, but they want that European price, see? But you can't have it both ways. So in future, if we're going to support American-made products or American manufacturing, especially with independent innovators, like smaller entities like myself, you know, we need the public to go, you know, that's $2 more, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because I'm supporting this. And we did find a lot of people that were like that. But when you were trying to sell wholesale, I was coming into some challenges there.
Okay.
Yeah, retail, actually, sorry.
So this journey of the Yellow Dog table has really evolved. And where are you right now? Are you currently still selling it? How's it doing? What do you want to do next with it?
I'm actually almost out of inventory. So we only ordered 1,600 units in the beginning. All right. And that's going to raise your cost as well. Fair enough. So I've sold 1,400 units, just word of mouth online. And, you know, I was walking people do door to door. I was literally going beach to beach. I was strapping those darn things on my back and walking that beach. Listen, my hair was really blonde. I had a great tan. It was working out, but it was really, really hard to do. It was really hard to do. So as I've evolved and I'm learning more about the industry and licensing, my desire now is to license Yellow Dog Table to a bigger company that has manufacturing, distribution, and just release it. And that goes back to the kind of inventor that I am. You know, I'm proud of Yellow Dog. I love the experience. but I'm not so attached to it where other people will say, well, that's my baby. You know, I need to have control over it. I'm like, I've raised you, bye. You know, just go and see, because you have to get to the point too, as an inventor, maybe you can evolve your product further, right? You can take it as far as you can take it, and then let the experts kind of take it even further, which brings me to you. And that's how you and I met, right?
That's right.
I mean, I got to be honest, you were really good to me. I was calling your 10-minute consult that you were gifting, I would say. And I know I utilized that on you a few times. So I appreciate that. I mean, it meant a lot to me in the beginning. I had questions, you know, and I didn't have any money to, you know, to keep investing where I needed just quick answers. So I really credit you a lot for that, you know, back then. I appreciated it.
Well, you have the desire and the want to succeed, and you're an inventor that just keeps inventing. So tell us about the next invention that you have. And then I'd like you to share with your audience and your listeners, give us some words of wisdom, some advice to be able to take our ideas to the next level.
Well, I carry this, there's a couple of these booklets that I have, and they're full of like drawings, sketches, ideas. That's one piece of advice I have, is really keep your stuff together. You know, even if it's just, you know, a pencil drawing, date it and put it in a booklet where you can always refer back to it. Right. So my next invention is really what I'm excited about, because being a bartender and a waitress for many, many years, you know, there's a lot of tool accessories in the industry to work with. But there was one thing that I saw was missing. So we're going to introduce it. So this is my 3D CAD prototype that you can see.
Can you move it a little closer?
Pardon me?
Let us see it in the camera a little closer.
Can you see it? Let me go this way. There you go. Can you see it?
Yep. Very nice.
Yeah. It's so simple. It looks like a jigger. Anybody in the bar business knows what a jigger is. Basically, it's a measuring cup. So this little device, I was sitting one day and I was, you know, again, the mind's going, it's probably 2 a.m. And I got to thinking about layered drinks, layered cocktails. And as a bartender, I would use the backside of a spoon, and you pour the liquor over the spoon, and that creates that layered effect. Like if you're using a Bailey's and a Kahlua or whatever, creams and liqueurs. So I don't know, somewhere up here, it just jumped into my head, you know, how come there's not a tool? And this I already knew, because I've been in this industry 30 years. And if there was a tool, I would have already known about it. So I just started sketching and drawing. And then I thought, well, how am I going to get a prototype and, you know, quickly?
Knock on that guy's door again.
Well, I didn't do that. I called one of the colleges, and this is great advice for new inventors. You know, some colleges or high schools even have drawing and CAD departments. And so they look for outside people to help them and their students create drawings and CADs and prototypes. You know, and I knew it was going to be, you know, a small unit. So that was my next step. And, you know, 3 meetings later and some revisions on the drawings. And the college guys, you know, took my drawings and created the CAD and the prototype.
That's great.
And then I sat on it for a few minutes, because I'm like, ooh, now what am I going to do? Now what am I going to do? And I made a quick video at a restaurant that I was working at, because they had booze there that I could sample with it, right? And the first time I poured it and it worked, you can literally hear me on the video gasping, because I was seeing it for the first time working as well. Because honestly, I didn't know. I thought it was going to work, but you know, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, right?
So, Samantha, so your product will create a layer on top of whatever drink is in there, either on the top or the bottom, kind of like when you get one of those fancy drinks and they have the layers on them. Like, so give us an example of like a drink that you would see on the top and the bottom.
Well, you can do a B52, which is Kahlua, Bailey's, and Grand Marnier. So you'd pour the Kahlua in first, and then you take the ladle and you stick it up next to the glass. So the rim of the glass is right here. You can see that little opening right there. Yep. And you stick it to the rim of the glass and you pour the Bailey's in, and it comes out of the opening. It just layers right on top of the Kahlua. And then you rinse and you pour that Grand Marnier in, and that third layer will float on top of that layer.
That's so cool.
It is. And the tequila sunrise is fun. That's orange juice vodka, tequila vodka and grenadine. And there's always grenadine in the tequila sunrise, because that creates that sunrise look. So again, you could use this and you pour the grenadine in, and that's going to sink right to the bottom, and you hold it up, and it's a beautifully perfect layered drink.
That's a fun, congratulations. And that's probably a really fun product to demonstrate because you can bring some alcohol around with you, and every time you show it, you get a drink. Oh, that's great.
I did another one with this, and it really surprised me. So I did like a makeshift sangria. And I took a tall flute glass packed with ice, and I poured this white wine mixture on top. And then I took red wine and poured it through the ladle, and it beautifully layered on top of that white wine. Put a lime on the side. It was an incredible presentation. It looked amazing. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's that's the thing. As inventors, we have to just think when something is happening and there's something that can be done differently or something new, you have to stop, and you have your notebook. You got to just capture that idea, write it down, because if you don't, poof, it's gone. So congratulations on that. Samantha, tell us what you want to do with what do you call it? What's the product?
I've been calling it the layering ladle, initially, because I'm an industry person, I'm like, this is a commercial product. And I thought the ladle behind the bar, because there's bar language, right? Give me the spoon, the shaker, the jigger. So the ladle would fit behind the bar, I thought. And then it was, in our conversation, actually, that kind of opened my mind a little bit further. Again, thank you. Because I was really convinced it's just a commercial product. And you and I discussed it 3 times, I think. And you were great. You said, hey, these are your options. You need to make your decision how you want to do this. So after, thinking about it and going over it with a couple of friends, we're like, all right, well, let's retail this product. And so right now we're getting quotes back on what this will cost to manufacture. And again, it's another kind of risk, but the risk can really what are the risk versus reward? If you're going to be in this and you're going to do it, then just go for it. You're going to get some rejection along the way, but
that is your you go to the beach, you came up with a beach idea. You're a bartender, you came up with the bartender idea. And having that in the home too, because I entertain. I want to be able to make something interesting. So it doesn't necessarily have to be commercial. So you've also been talking about doing it for do-it-your-home bartenders, which is awesome. That's great.
Yeah, so, and that just wasn't a window that I was looking through. I know I mentioned alcohol and drinks a lot in this segment, but I really don't drink very much at all. So that's probably why that one beer can was bothering me, that it had sand on it, because I really kind of savor that. And I'm not a big at-home bar person, but that doesn't mean that millions of other people aren't. So you kind of helped me open my eyes to a market that maybe wasn't at my house, right? Just because I'm not a big drinker, but it doesn't mean that other people really aren't or enjoy it in their homes. And I think this is going to be kind of like a fun, kind of a lifestyle thing to have, in your house to wow your friends with.
Well, Samantha, we wish you the best of luck between the Yellow Dog table, whether you sell it yourself or you license it, and the same thing with your, what is it called? The layered
The
Layered ladle?
layering ladle. It's a
Layering
tongue
ladle.
twister. The ladle.
Well,
Yeah.
you sound like you are in that zone of coming up with ideas. And I don't know if you're going to have to hit the beach and bring some drinks and maybe come up with another one, but you're doing fantastic. Wish you all
Thank
the
you.
best. Give the inventors out there, from your experience, just give us one more piece of advice, some words of wisdom from you, Samantha, because you've been there, done that. You're on your way. You're selling a product. You know, in my opinion, when you sell one product, just one of something that you came up with and you brought it to a point where somebody's able to buy one, just that is a huge accomplishment. So congratulations. But
Thank
to
you.
the other inventors out there that are listening, wondering what they should do with their idea, kind of following your footsteps, or maybe they take their own path, give us another quick tip for us.
You know, I think most importantly is take the steps. Take the steps. I've met so many people go, "Oh, I've got this idea." I go, "Oh, what have you done with it? What steps have you taken?" "Oh, nothing. I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to do." So, you know, if you're that person, you could be sitting on the next biggest item, right? And companies look for outside innovators all the time. So take the steps. Google, research, call on somebody. You know, take a class, take the next initiative, take the steps. That's all it takes. Is the first step will lead you to the next, to the next. I call it the bridge of incidents. Like this thing will happen, and then it bridges you to the next and to the next. You know, you'll know as you go along. But if you sit on your idea and then 2 years later you see it at the store and you go, "Oh, I had that idea." You can do something with your ideas.
Good. Samantha, thank you so much. We wish you all the best and
Thank
keep
you.
on inventing.
Yes, keep inventing. It's
Okay.
so much fun.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Samantha Jane St. Raymond, the inventor of the yellow dog table and the layering ladle.
Yes.
Congratulations. We wish you all the best. Thank you for joining us on the Got Invention show.
All right, Brian. Thank you so much for having me. Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day. Awesome.